Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Deepika, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. US military conducts air strikes on IS targets in Somalia. Pentagon says no civilians harmed. Tensions escalate between Russia and Ukraine. They accuse each other for deadly strike on boarding school in Kursk region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to begin phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire negotiations in Washington. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio heads to Central America amid Trump's threat over Panama Canal. China's presence poses security concerns to the US. In sports, India eyes second straight women's under-19 T20 Cricket World Cup victory as they face South Africa in super finale. A very good morning to all our viewers joining us at this morning broadcast on DD India Live. To begin with the latest from the US. Now, US forces carried out airstrikes in Somalia, targeting a senior Islamic State attack planner and other members of the terrorist group, killing many of them. President Donald Trump on Truth Social post said that the attack has killed those who were hiding in caves, threatened the United States and allies. Now, Saturday's strikes were carried out in the Qualis Mountains, said the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who added that an initial assessment indicated multiple operatives were killed. He said no civilians were harmed. The strikes comes just days after Interpol announced the arrest of several suspected members of Islamic State in East Africa. The arrests occurred amid mounting concerns over a possible resurgence of the ISIS militant group after the ousting of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. Updates from Russia-Ukraine crisis now. Tensions escalate between Russia and Ukraine, with both the sides accusing each other for a strike on a boarding school sheltering civilians in the Ukrainian-occupied town of Moscow's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a major cross-border assault last August. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky shared aftermath footage of attack on Kursk boarding school. Ukraine's military said that 4 people had died and dozens injured or rescued in what President Volodymyr Zelensky described as a Russian aerial strike on a boarding school in a Ukrainian-held part of Russia's Kursk region. Meanwhile, rescue operations are currently in progress as local residents look on in the Ukrainian city of Poltava after a Russian missile strike that hit overnight. 17 people have been reported injured while 22 have been rescued. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, the death toll has risen to number 8 now. Now, the historic Bristol Hotel has been destroyed following a Russian missile strike. The Odisha Regional Military Administration released aerial images showing the destruction of the historic Bristol Hotel. The attack targeted Odisha's UNESCO-listed historic centre, wounding 7 people who are now receiving medical care. The strike caused significant damage to around 15 cultural heritage sites, including the Vucini House, the local Philharmonic, the Museum of Western and Eastern Art, and the Porto Franco Bank. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will begin talks on a second phase to the Gaza ceasefire in Washington on Monday. His office said hours after the completion of the 4th hostage prisoner exchange of the truce. Benjamin Netanyahu, in a video message, said that his country expects the coming phases of the prisoner-hostage swap to be carried out safely during a video statement after the 4th exchange of hostages for the prisoners with Hamas amid a ceasefire deal. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed home the 3 released Israeli hostages who were released by Hamas.
כמה טוב לראות אתכם בבית.
Earlier this week, in the previous phase, we made it very clear that we would not tolerate any violation of the agreement. We insisted on this, and we brought forward by a week the release of 3 of our hostages. Also, after the scenes that we all saw the day before yesterday, we demanded a safe exit for our hostages in the coming releases. As you saw today, this steadfast stand proved itself. The message was delivered, received, and carried out. Israel expects that all of the coming phases also be carried out safely.
הוכיחה את עצמה. המסר
Now, Marco Rubio headed to Panama on his debut trip abroad as the U.S. Secretary of State on Saturday, as he now looks for how to follow up on President Donald Trump's extraordinary tweet to seize the Panama Canal. Rubio's mission came as Donald Trump imposed steep tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China. Later, Rubio will travel to El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guatemala and the Dominican Republic to discuss migrant repatriation programs and regional cooperation. The State Department said that Rubio's trip will promote regional cooperation on core shared interests such as stopping illegal and large-scale migration, fighting transnational criminal organizations and drug trafficking. Ahead of U.S. top diplomat Rubio's visit, the special envoy for Latin America said China's presence around the Panama Canal is a national security concern that Panama's government has to deal with, while Panama has vehemently denied the ceding operation of the canal to China. U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday ordered 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports and 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday. Now, Trump also declared that the tariffs would remain in place until a national emergency over the drug fentanyl and illegal immigration to the U.S. ends. Energy products from Canada will have only a 10% duty, but Mexican energy imports will be charged the full 25%. The White House said the tariffs are being implemented in order to tackle the fentanyl crisis in the U.S. A fact sheet on the duties said they would remain in place until the crisis alleviated, but it did not provide details on what actions the 3 countries would need to take to win a reprieve. According to Trump's written order, tariff collections are set to begin on Tuesday, but imports that were loaded onto a vessel or onto their final mode of transit before entering the U.S. prior to 12 a.m. Saturday would be exempt from the duties.
Eventually, we're going to put tariffs on chips. We're going to put tariffs on oil and gas. That'll happen fairly soon. I think around the 18th of February. And we're going to put a lot of tariffs on steel. We already have tariffs on steel, and we've saved our steel industry, but that was relatively small compared to what it'll be. But we're going to be putting tariffs on steel and aluminum and ultimately copper. Copper will take a little bit longer, and that'll happen pretty quickly. It'll mean it'll be a great boost for our steel industry. It'll make our steel industry very strong.
The 3 countries are the top U.S. trade partners, sparking fears that the duties will lead to higher prices. And in reaction to Trump's order to impose the tariffs, provincial officials and business executives in Canada reacted with outrage, calling for forceful tariffs on imports from the U.S. Canada's outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is due to make an announcement. Meanwhile, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Friday her country was prepared but would act with a cool head if tariffs go ahead. Now, China's embassy in Washington has said there would be no winner in a trade war or tariff war. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Commerce said China's position on the tariff issue is consistent. He said tariff measures are not conducive to the interests of either China or the United States, nor to the rest of the world. Now, United States President Donald Trump's envoy, Richard Grenell, met Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas to warn leftist leader Nicolas Maduro to accept the unconditional return of deported Venezuelans or face the consequences. The 2 countries have a fraught recent history marked by broken diplomatic relations, sanctions and accusations of criminal activity and coup plotting. U.S. President Donald Trump said that his administration aims at straighten out the situation in Venezuela. Speaking at a press conference from the White House's Oval Office, he claimed to have received support from most Venezuelans living in the United States during presidential election and expressed a desire to help them return to their homeland safe and free.
We want to do something with Venezuela. I've been a very big opponent of Venezuela and Maduro. They've treated us not so good, but they've treated, more importantly, the Venezuelan people very badly. We have tremendous Venezuelan population. I got 92% of the vote, the Venezuelan vote. Now we want to see what we can do to get people back in their homeland safe and free.
Now, at least 7 people died when a Medivac plane crashed in Philadelphia on Friday. Philadelphia's Mayor Cheryl Parker said that at least one other person who was in the car had also been killed and that 19 people had been wounded. The crash, which is the second major aviation disaster in the United States this week, occurred when the twin-engine Learjet 55 plummeted towards a busy Philadelphia neighborhood, exploding on impact and showering wreckage over homes and vehicles. The U.S. Federal Aviation Authority said it was launching an investigation with the National Transportation Safety Board. Both the agencies are already probing the collision of a passenger jet from an American airline subsidiary and a Black Hawk helicopter.
At this point, we can confirm that there were 6 souls on board the plane that crashed on Cottman Avenue last evening. A pediatric patient, their mother, and a 4-person flight crew. We can also confirm that at least one other person perished in this tragedy, and this individual was in a car. We can confirm that there are also a number of other victims who were injured in this incident, and they are being treated in area hospitals. And thus far, our count is that there are 19 injured victims. But again, this is not etched in stone. The investigation is ongoing.
And in a latest update in the Washington, D.C. plane crash, the U.S. authorities restricted helicopter flights near Reagan-Washington National Airport indefinitely on Friday after a mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a military helicopter killed 67 people. Officials said that 41 of the victims' bodies had been recovered by Friday. The Federal Aviation Administration restricted helicopter flights to reduce the risk of another collision as crews worked to pull the wreckage of America's deadliest air disaster in 2 decades from the Potomac River. Vice President of Reagan National, Terry, said 2 of the airport's 3 runways were expected to remain closed for a week.
The 2 crosswind runways, if aircraft were to take off or land over the aircraft recovery sites that is out there right now, those would be impactful to the operation. So we've elected to keep those runways closed. Worked with the FAA. I think what we've communicated is we anticipate, our expectation is a week. However, we'll reassess on Monday, and as the recovery efforts go, it's a fluid situation, obviously. Yep.
Now, meanwhile, National Transportation Safety Board member Todd said investigators were able to recover the helicopter's black box that captures flight data and voices in the cockpit.
We recovered from the CRJ 2 separate recorders. One was a FDFR, that is a flight data recorder. FD. That was actually in what we consider good condition. As part of that process, it was soaked in alcohol overnight. It was then opened today, and we have a high level of confidence that we will be able to get a full download in the very near future. I can report to you now, we have recovered the Sikorsky black box. It is safely at the NTSB headquarters. It will begin an evaluation, just as the other 2 recorders did last night, to determine when and how to take action.
And now let's take a look at news from around the world in brief. Around 43 migrants detained in camps in Albania returned to Italy on Saturday evening after a Rome court ordered their transfer. The migrants, majority from Egypt and Bangladesh, had been sent to Albania earlier this week after being rescued in the Mediterranean. Dozens of demonstrators gathered in Paris on Saturday to demand the release of 3 French nationals imprisoned in Iran on spying charges. The individuals, who were traveling as tourists, were arrested in 2022. Rights groups have accused Tehran of detaining foreign nationals to gain diplomatic leverage that Iran has repeatedly denied. A streamlined Mercedes raced by Formula One great Stirling Moss and Juan Manuel Fangio in 1955 set a record for a Grand Prix car on Saturday, selling at an auction for $53.01 million. The car was driven to victory by 5-time world champion at the non-championship Buenos Aires Grand Prix in 1955. We are heading for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Up next, we'll get you all the latest update on India's Union Budget 2025. India's President Draupadi Murmu praises the opening ceremony of Amrit Udyan Winter Annuals Edition 2025. And Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia flags off Indian Navy Half Marathon in New Delhi.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live with me, Deepika, and now let's get you the latest from Budget 2025. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union Budget 2025 on Saturday, marking her record 8th consecutive presentation. Focusing on the middle class, she announced zero income tax up to 1.2 million Indian rupees. The budget highlights structural reforms across 6 key sectors, boosting growth and global competitiveness.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union Budget 2025 in the lower house of the Indian Parliament, marking a significant milestone with a record 8th consecutive budget presentation. Focusing on the country's middle class, the Finance Minister stated that the new tax regime will substantially reduce taxes for the middle class, as no income tax will be payable on income up to 12 lakh rupees.
In recognition of their contribution, we have periodically reduced their tax burden. Right after 2014, the nil tax slab was raised to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, which was further raised to 5 lakh rupees in 2019 and to 7 lakh rupees in 2023. This is reflective of our government's trust on the middle class taxpayers. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees.
In a speech, the minister asserted that the Indian economy is the fastest growing among all developing economies. She noted that the Indian development track record over the past decade and its structural reforms have drawn global attention.
Our economy is the fastest growing among all major economies. Our development track record for the past 10 years and structural reforms have drawn global attention. Confidence in India's capability and potential has only grown in this period. We see the next 5 years as a unique opportunity to realize Sabka Vikas, stimulating balanced growth of all regions.
The minister said that the proposed development measures in the budget of 2025 spans 10 broad areas focusing on Garib, the poor, Yuva, the youth, Annadata, the farmers, and Nari, women.
Spurring agricultural growth and productivity, building rural prosperity and resilience, taking everyone together on an inclusive growth path, boosting manufacturing and furthering Make in India, supporting MSMEs, enabling employment-led development, investing in people, economy, and innovation.
On MSMEs, Nirmala Sitharaman said that these enterprises are responsible for 45% of India's exports. She announced that the investment and turnover limits for the classification of all MSMEs will be enhanced to 2.5 times and 2 times respectively to boost their confidence, support growth, and generate employment opportunities for the youth.
With their quality products, these MSMEs are responsible for 45% of our exports. To help them achieve higher efficiencies of scale, technological upgradation, and better access to capital, the investment and turnover limits for classification of all MSMEs will be enhanced to 2.5 and 2 times respectively.
While discussing the expansion of medical education, the finance minister announced that 10,000 additional seats will be created in medical colleges and hospitals as part of the goal to create 75,000 new seats for the next 5 years. Additionally, she proposed adding 36 life-saving drugs and medicines to the list of items fully exempted from basic custom duty. Bureau Report, GD India.
And for the middle class, the budget had tax relief in store. But how much will you be exactly saving? Our next expert has the details. Take a look.
With no income tax payable on earning up to Rs 12 lakh per annum in the new income tax regime, the budget has come as a major boost for India's aspirational and growing middle class. The limit will be Rs 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers, taking into account the standard deduction, which is Rs 75,000. Earlier, the threshold for nil tax was Rs 7 lakh.
That the rates are far lesser than the rates which are prevailing as of today. So one with the simplification, rate reduction, and also a smooth flow of rate without any jumps, and higher incomes also coming into the lower slab. So the benefit of this income tax reduction that we've done are not just in saying up to a certain income you will pay no tax, but across the board for all incomes the rate is brought down.
Yes. The budget has also proposed new tax slabs. There's no tax for annual income between 0 to 4 lakh. For income between Rs 4 to 8 lakh, it's 5%. For Rs 8 to 12 lakh, it's 10%. For 12 to 16 lakh, it's 15%. For 16 to 20 lakh, it's 20%. For 20 to 24 lakh, it's 25%, while those earning above 24 lakh will have to pay 30% tax. So why does the budget have tax slabs for those earning between 4 to 12 lakh? So why does the budget has tax slabs for those earning between Rs 4 to 12 lakh? This means that an individual earning up to Rs 12 lakh would have a tax liability, but the amount will get completely offset by the rebate. Here's the amount taxpayers will be saving now. Those with an annual income of Rs 8 lakh will get total tax benefit of Rs 30,000. For 9 lakh, the amount is 40,000. For 10 lakh, it's 50,000. For 11 lakh, it's 65,000. For 12 lakh, it's 80,000. An individual with an earning of up to Rs 24 lakh will get a tax benefit of Rs 1.1 lakh. Industry leaders have welcomed the tax relief, saying that it will lead to rise in consumer spending.
This will give money to the hands of the middle class, increase consumption.
The tax relief will also boost household consumption and savings. Bureau Report, DD India.
Moving on, Union Minister Mansukh Mandaviya flagged off Indian Navy Half Marathon in the national capital today. It is a landmark event aiming at promoting physical fitness and fostering a spirit of camaraderie among the participants, marking a significant milestone in the Navy's effort to encourage sports and healthy lifestyle within the nation. The Indian Navy reaffirmed its commitment to foster a culture of health, resilience and camaraderie to celebrate the spirit of fitness, discipline and national pride. With this, India's President Draupadi Murmu graced the opening of the Amrit Udyan Winter Annual Sedition 2025. The Udyan will open for public viewing from the 2nd of February till the 30th of March. People can visit the Udyan 6 days a week between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. local time, except on Mondays, which are maintenance days. Booking and entry to the garden is free of cost. Booking can be made from the official website as well. Walking entry is also available for the viewers. In cricket, unbeaten so far in the tournament, dominant India will start as overwhelming favourites to win their second consecutive title when they take on South Africa in the finals of the Women's U19 T20 Cricket World Cup. Well, India have had a flawless campaign so far, winning all their 6 matches in the tournament. In form, opener Gungadi Trisha has been in ominous form with the bat and is the highest run-getter in the tournament with 265 runs in 6 innings at an average of 66.25. She is followed by her left-handed opening partner G. Kamalini, who's third in the list with 135 runs in 6 innings at an average of 45. But the worrying factor for India would be the lack of time and opportunity at the crease for the middle order, as most of the runs have been scored by the openers. On the other hand, South Africa qualified for their first ever ICC Women's Under-19 T20 Cricket World Cup final following an impressive 5-wicket victory over Australia in the semi-final and will be looking forward to upset the Indians en route to the title. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live this morning. Namaskar.